Hello and welcome to this Jane's Weather Update. It is Friday the 1st of August. Now, here is the pattern at the surface. Not a lot going on. We've got high pressure that is sitting over much of the country, but that's just what's happening down here on the ground. There is a lot of action at work up in the upper atmosphere that is producing a lot of wet weather. So I'll walk you through that. That will be for New South Wales, but also our next big cold front is about to barrel into the southwest of the country. So that's our two focus points for the next couple of days, while high pressure just very slowly moves eastwards. All right, let's take a look at that on the map, and here it all is. We've got some tropical moisture coming down across Queensland. We've got all of this activity that's happening over New South Wales, mainly in the northern parts, but we're going to get a low that's developing off the northern coast there for the weekend, and we have that wrap around and hit onto the coast there anywhere south and near to that low, not to the north of it. You've got to be south of it, and that's where the heavy falls are going to be. Meanwhile, not really spilling around the corner much anymore. High pressure is on its way in, and here is that next cold front that is about to hit the southwest. That will arrive on Saturday, so enjoy the sunshine while we have it on Friday. Let's have a look at the current warnings. Lots of wind warnings up through here for marine and around here as that cold front approaches. This one here is frost. You can see it just in through here, and this is a sheep grazier, but let me just turn those two off so we don't have them in there. Let me just move myself out there. All right, let's take those ones off. So sheep and frost, will turn that away. All right, this one here is for icy roads as well. Let's zoom in here because we do have a flood watch for all of these areas here. So that is the danger zone in terms of where the worst of the wet weather is going to be. Remember, we do have a great great dividing range that is in through here, which means the rain comes into here, but because there's also that upper level trough, we're seeing it west of the ranges as well, but the biggest falls are definitely to the east. So let's watch that in action. Here we have a look down in the left-hand corner. Here is Friday. So the pattern here, we've got our 1028. That's a very large high-pressure system, so it's sitting there over the bight. We've got a trough that's running in through here, not quite getting that low developing just yet. But there's the rain for today, across northern New South Wales and along the coastline as well. Here is that, not quite reaching the southwest by the end of today. All right, let's have a look at Saturday. Here is that low that is developing just off the coast. By the end of it, it has moved out, but we've also got this that is in through here. So you can see it clearly. It is near and south of the low that gets those heavy falls, and there it is, pushed straight into the coast and up there near that low. So that is the danger zone in terms of the heavier wet weather for tomorrow. Eyes over to the west. Here is that cold front coming through. By the end of the day, it is in through here, so that's where the band of rain is up to by the end of Saturday. Meanwhile, high pressure cradling that low that is moving across that these parts of New South Wales and southeast Queensland. So that high is very slowly moving in, creating light winds and a bit of sunshine for the southeast. Let's head into Sunday. Here we are. The low is now well off the coast. We're still getting those falls there on the northern New South Wales coast, even some of it still down into the south. So that's during the day on Sunday. High pressure moving out. Here is the cold front. Now up to here by the end of the day. So we've got wet weather in behind it, and then a second one that is coming in as well. So it's a 1-2 hit for the west as we move across the weekend. It does have a bit of a tropical moisture feed, but watch all of this happen here. First of all, where is the high? Here, very strong just to the southeast of the country. Here's our massive cold front. What is that going to do? It is going to slide as it moves across the southeast because the high acts like a block, acts like a stop sign and says, no, you shall not pass. And so it just slides across. So the big falls are in the west. They're not going to be in the east. Let's have a look at that in action. There it is, just sliding through as it comes in. So nothing big and strong anymore. All of the heavy falls are now off the coast, maybe just brushing it there. We're just seeing a little bit of that comes through. So that's on Monday. Here's just the remains of that one. That is exiting stage, whatever direction that is. And we've got a bit of a break in through here with high pressure there, but still tropical moisture lingering off that northwest. I'll be back to address that in a second. Here we have the southeast sliding through. So we're getting this wet weather here on Monday. And this is what we see into Tuesday. So it's north of the ranges and then peters out very quickly after that. Really doesn't reach the southeast. In Tasmania, bit of a stronger feature as this one comes through. Okay, so here we are by the end of Tuesday. There's our tropical moisture. Here's the next cold front coming in. What's that going to do in Wednesday and Thursday? Not a direct hit. And here is the high pressure moving in very quickly after that. So there is some wet weather from that, yes, mainly in the western parts of Tasmania. Trajectory is this way. but there's not a lot from this one as it moves through. Some wet weather, but not a lot, especially if you are inland. All right, so that's Wednesday into Thursday moving through, and here is our next high pressure system. Let's go back to our tropical moisture that is in the northwest. I'll go back a couple of days. Here we have by the end of Tuesday. Here we have by the end of Wednesday, and here we have by the end of Thursday. Okay, that is an area of tropical moisture. It's come in from the Indian Ocean, and that is a juicy ball of moisture that is going to go somewhere and deliver some rain. Now, the weather pattern is what dictates where that ball of moisture actually goes. So yes, we've got the moisture part, but the instability, that tells us who gets that rain. High pressure. Have a big look at this. It is sitting here right over the southeast. So no, it is not the southeast that gets it as this comes down. Not at this stage anyway. So as we move into the later part of next week, no, it is not the southeast that gets it. Let's watch this in action. Here is the high here by the end of Friday. High pressure here over Tasmania. That drags moisture into the coast and that ball of moisture. So this one is also taking a northern path. It's for Queensland, mainly northern New South Wales as that moves past. That's Thursday into Friday as it comes in. All right, so that's the first part of that there. Here is the high pressure sitting down in through here. More moisture coming in. Starting to see the next front come in as well. That's by the end of Friday. Let's have a look at next Saturday. All right, high pressure down in through here, southeast of Tasmania. There's our wraparound of moisture, and can it come down into the southeast? That's a good setup for that to happen, particularly if the trough that is back in through here, which is the separation between all of that wet weather and the dry conditions over to the west. If that can swing back further west, which it can do, then that means lots of moisture coming down into the southeast as well. This is a full week away, even one more day than a full week away. So it's on the horizon, but it's definitely something to watch. So in recap, we're going to see that ball of moisture come across. It's going to go into New South Wales and Queensland, but after that, it may be able to do a loop-de-loop and come down into the southeast, depending on where that high pressure moves and where the low is over here. All right, that is the next wave of tropical moisture comes in, meeting up with the next cold front. So we've moved into a pattern where it's different. Now we've got this access to tropical moisture, and wherever that meets up with low pressure and wherever that moves, that's who gets the rain. All right, so let's have a look at that in total. Okay, so here we have the big fall. So the low is just off the coast here. No, it's not for Queensland. It's the other side of the border, just reaching there. But the heaviest falls are down in through here. 100, 150 to 200 up on the ranges there. Big falls from Sydney upwards, maybe even right down to the south coast if you're right on that coastal fringe. So that's what's happening with that. Plus this little bit inland, particularly today as it moves through on Friday. So this is coming in 15 to 25 millimeters. We'll definitely take it. It's a lovely fall as it moves across. Here is that moisture coming in, and then the next wave of that moving across. Here is this one coming up, 25 to 50 millimeters as it crosses the southwest, locally 50 to 75, and even 15 to 25 as it moves inland there. So nice system for there. But no, there is not much in the southeast unless you're in western and northern Tasmania, because the fronts are sliding through or just coming in from the west there. Okay, let's have a look at what that means as a week as a whole. So this is the Euro model, and it is definitely on board with that. Here's the tropical moisture coming in from the northwest, not skipping down into the south, missing the southeast here, moving across here. So that's that first system that comes through. This is right through to the end of Sunday next week. Okay, let's look at what the Bureau's take on that is. It has a similar coming in from the Indian Ocean, spreading right across the interior, New South Wales and Queensland, but it has a hint of it in through here too. All right, let's have a look at the next week of Euro, because we know it was changing next weekend. And here we are, more moisture coming in from the northwest, but this time more of a southerly path that could be affecting those southeastern parts. That's the high sitting here, dragging the moisture in. Does it get to come right down into the southeast with another system coming in from the west? If all this comes to pass, then it's a very, very nice picture for anyone that wants some rain. So by the end of next week into week 2, we could have something delicious brewing in through there. What does the Bureau say? They've got all of this in through here as well, less down into the southeast. So they're not quite as on board as what the Euro is. All right, that's week 1 and week 2. Let's zoom out, have a look at the globe as a total. Here's our sea surface temperature anomaly, how much warmer or cooler the top of the ocean is. I can't distract you from this lovely, lovely box over in the Indian Ocean here. If you have been watching my videos and seeing the updates each week, then you would know that we are very focused on this. We have now been for a couple of months as it has slowly turned blue, and now we have crossed the threshold. What an exciting time to be alive. Let's just unpack what that means. Blue developing this box here, lots of warm yellows out through here, an imbalance in the ocean, a dipole as you would have it, and so that pushes moisture towards Australia. Also, what's happening over in the Pacific Ocean? There is actually more blue that is developing in through here. We were looking very neutral and we had our own source of moisture off Queensland here. We still have that, but also there is some growing blue that is in that box there. Let's have a look at what the forecast is saying. We'll start with the Pacific Ocean first of all. You'll notice we've finally got some models that are back in through here, which I'm very excited after the Bureau took them away. A bit sad that they did that. Anyway, we've managed to get some of them back. So the Australian model is in through here, sitting very neutral. The Japanese model, that has got it going down. So not crossing the threshold back into La Nina, but at least on that side of the fence. So we're starting to see a little bit of movement in that ocean, and there could be some more to come. The other one we've got in here is USA. There's 4 of those. We'll split those out shortly. You'll get a different image by next week. And these guys are sitting fairly neutral, but on this side of it. All right, so that's the Pacific Ocean. Let's have a look at the Indian Ocean. There it is. It crossed that threshold as we went through the early part of this week. It was very exciting here at Jane's Weather to see that happen. It's all that blue in that box developing, and here now it is. It has crossed that threshold. We've got 2 models in action here. The Australia likes it to stay under here, and the Japanese model likes it as well. So that indicates that we should expect more juicy northwest cloud bands coming down from the northwest. The Indian Ocean feed of moisture. The only question is, where does the low pressure go as to who sees that rain? All right, let's have a bit of a whip around the country. We'll start in Brisbane, north of where that low pressure system is developing, so not on the heavy side of that low. 3 millimetres, 2 millimetres, up to 4, up to 8, up to 0.3 as we go through into there. So here is Friday, developing. Here is Saturday, easing. As we go into Sunday, not much left at all. Conditions warming up early next week, 22, 24 as we go into Tuesday, remaining warm on Wednesday. The next weather system is at the end of next week as that next tropical burst comes through. More likely to get falls here, so 12 millimetres is the average, 19 there. One of the models has up to 64 millimetres. So that is the USA model that really likes those heavier falls, but they are all kind of on board as to when that is coming through. So that's next Friday, Saturday, that one is most likely to hit Brisbane. Let's have a look at Sydney, definitely in the firing line for this weekend of weather. And here we have 47 millimetres is the average on Saturday there. Let's look at today. You'll notice all of these, 60 to 80. It's all the models that like it. Conditions slightly warming up. We were pretty cold for the last couple of days. As we move into Saturday, 30 to 60 millimetres. The average is 47. So that is wet. The heaviest part of it is early on. Moving into Sunday, it starts to taper off as the day goes on, but still plenty of wet weather, still lots of showers moving through. By Monday, it's just the dregs of that coming in. And by Tuesday, back to sunshine and feeling quite warm again. A lovely break in through there. Then the next weather system does hit Sydney as well. 9 millimetres, 13 as we go through Friday and Saturday. Into Melbourne, chilly start today. We've got a mix of sun and cloud. We'll have cloud building during the afternoon, and we're up around the 13, 14. Light winds. Heading into Saturday, cool start. Cloud clearing, lots of sun by the afternoon, temperatures starting to rise. Here is that warm up as that high heads out to the east. So there we are up around 18, 19 on Sunday. We've also got light winds. So Sunday should be absolutely beautiful. Just a bit of wispy high cloud coming through. Into Monday, still very warm, but the wind picks up, so it won't be as pleasant. Then into Tuesday, that sliding cold front, that hits Melbourne in the early hours of Tuesday. If you sleep in on Tuesday morning, you may not even know that it was even there. It is overnight and then clearing early. Just a tiny little bit to follow in the afternoon. Into Wednesday, the next one comes through. That's mainly in the afternoon to evening, but these aren't big falls. Up to 5 millimetres is the total there. Thursday, just a tiny little bit left. Friday and Saturday, high pressure in through here. Not seeing that wet weather, potentially coming in after that. All right, let's have a look into Adelaide. Here we are on Friday. We've got a bit of cloud today. Have a look at these temperatures. Saturday, also in about the 13. We've got cloud there. Sunday, things jump up as winds turn northerly. That high moves out to the east. So there's our warmer weather coming in. Onto Monday. This is when that cold front arrives, Monday afternoon, evening, and then it clears out during the morning on Tuesday. Just a little bit more left over into the afternoon. Wednesday, that's when that next burst comes through. But Thursday, Friday, Saturday, likely to be dry at this stage. Not seeing that tropical moisture yet. Have a look at Perth. Here we have the nice day today. If you have the chance to get out and about, I definitely do it today rather than over the weekend. We're about 20. We've got sunshine. It's fabulous. Heading into Saturday, that's when that cold front moves through. Morning, afternoon, and evening, we've got lots of wet weather coming in, 8 to 19 millimetres. So that's a bit of a burst as it comes in. On Sunday, the next burst comes through. So that's all day that we get that wet weather too. And there is a risk of thunderstorms in there as well. Monday, conditions ease. Tuesday, a bit more wet weather coming through. Wednesday, bit of a break. Thursday, break. Then as we go through the later part into next weekend, that's when that next burst of moisture may come down. So I think the big recap of today is big rain system for New South Wales, mainly in the east. That's where the heavy falls are, but the northern inland parts are seeing it as well. Over the weekend, the next big weather system moves across the southwest. That'll slide across the southeast as it moves into next week as conditions warm up. Otherwise, there is tropical moisture coming in from the northwest. The northeast may have a bit of activity in that too. It may be able to come down into the southeast on the horizon as we crossed that negative IOD threshold, which is a very exciting time to be alive. I'll see you next week. Bye.